Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 16th, 2017.
206 here on the great WRKO. Okay, Trump now pulls the trigger and decertifies the Iran deal. What will be the consequences? But first, my friends, press conference taking place right now. Trump just had lunch with Mitch the Squish McConnell, and Trump is saying he wants tax reform this year. He's tired of the excuses now from the rhinos, from the congressional establishment GOP. Enough. I want the tax cuts. I want them this year. Good luck. Good luck. What you want and what you're going to get are two different things. This guy, I'm telling you, Mitch McConnell, I've said this before and I'll say it again. He would screw up a one-car funeral. This guy, him and Rhino Ryan, not only are they going to kill you on Obamacare, they're going to kill you on the wall, they're going to kill you on tax reform. Mr. President, they're going to kill you on every issue. That's just my advice. That's why the sooner you get rid of them, the better. But let that go. 617-266-6868. Okay. Trump, in very dramatic fashion, is now slowly beginning to unravel most of Obama's legacy. His domestic crown jewel was Obamacare. He's now gutted some of the federal subsidies, and he's now implemented a free market reform to sell insurance across state lines. On the foreign policy front, the crown jewel was the dear leader's deal with Iran, in which, in essence, the agreement would allow the mullahs to continue to build towards an eventual bomb within 10 years. It gave the Iranians everything. $150 billion, that's with a B, in cash, 2 million of it literally in pallets, flown in by plane, almost like this was a drug cartel operation. Iran continues to have nuclear technology. Iran continues to have nuclear reactors. Iran continues to enrich uranium. And Iran continues to test ballistic missiles. And Iran continues to fund terrorists and really be the biggest state sponsor of terrorism all across the Middle East and the world. They continue to support Hezbollah. They continue to support Hamas. In fact, they continue to support ISIS and Al-Qaeda in places like Afghanistan. So the same regime responsible for the bombing, maiming, and murder of American soldiers in Iraq, which to this day, they now have taken Iraq under its sphere of influence. The very same regime that vows to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, to finish what Hitler started, the annihilation of the Jews. The same regime that vows to bring, quote unquote, the great Satan to its knees. This regime under Obama was essentially empowered to be on the path of acquiring the nuclear bomb. The only thing was, like everything else, he kicked it down the road. That's all he did. It gave the Iranians everything. It gave the mullahs everything. And it gave the American people nothing. And so Trump, in dramatic fashion at the Rose Garden, announced that he will no longer certify that Iran is in compliance with the deal. Now, in plain English, what does that mean? It means the following, my friends. It means that we are still technically part of the deal, except he's going to kick or punt the issue to Congress. He's saying they're not in compliance. Congress now must make the next step. Either do nothing and just let it stay as is, or they can reimpose sanctions within 60 days. In other words, that would break the deal and we'd reimpose the tough sanctions, or potentially ask for Trump to renegotiate with the mullahs. In other words, try to get a better deal. listen now to President Trump say, this deal, not good. Roll it, Britain.
Congress has already begun the work to address these problems. Key House and Senate leaders are drafting legislation that would amend the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act to strengthen enforcement, prevent Iran from developing an internet, this is so totally important, an intercontinental ballistic missile, and make all restrictions on Iran's nuclear activity permanent under U.S. law. So important. I support these initiatives. However, in the event we are not able to reach a solution working with Congress and our allies, then the agreement will be terminated. It is under continuous review, and our participation can be canceled by me as president at any time. As we have seen in North Korea, the longer we ignore a threat, the worse that threat becomes. It is why we are determined that the world's leading sponsor of terrorism will never obtain nuclear weapons.
Everything that last half, everything what he's saying is to me just nothing, it's just common sense. It's nothing more than common sense. He is right. The mullahs are the largest state sponsor of terrorism. The mullahs are developing ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, that could potentially hit Berlin, hit London, hit Paris, God forbid, one day hit the United States itself. I think there's no question about that. The question, though, is, why didn't you just tear up the deal and walk away? See, that's the question. Instead, what he's done is he's punted to Congress. And Bob Corker, a big establishment rhino, he's going to retire, thank the Lord, but he's obstructing Trump. Again, the rhinos are obstructing Trump, like they did on Obamacare. Now Corker, who helped Obama craft the deal, says he wants to do everything in his power to preserve the Iran deal. He doesn't want to scrap the Iran deal. Not at all. And so, as I told Ambassador Bolton last week, I said what's going to happen is he's going to punt to Congress and they're going to do nothing. Or they're going to try to keep the deal, to try to isolate the president even more on the international stage. So instead, we're now potentially getting the worst of both worlds, because on the one hand, you have decertified the deal, which has enraged the mullahs. So the Islamo-Nazis in Tehran have now come out with an official statement. This is straight from their president, Hassan Rouhani. Well, according to Hassan Rouhani, he says now Iran is even more dedicated to testing intercontinental ballistic missiles, to expanding their hegemony in Iraq, across Syria, across the Middle East, that in fact they're going to build up even more planes, more missiles, more ships, expand their military power and their military might. So if anything now, the mullahs are saying absolutely not, we're not going to give you an inch. We're in fact going to escalate our military buildup. They're going to continue to violate the accord. They're not going to stop. So the mullahs have said they don't want to renegotiate. There will be no renegotiation. I don't think they could be frankly clearer on that point. So you have the Europeans, the gutless cowards that they are, the Germans, the French, the English, all of them, saying, Theresa May, Macron, and Angela Merkel saying, no, we don't want the deal changed either. So they're not blaming the mullahs, they're blaming Trump for decertifying. So you have the mullahs that are enraged, you have the Europeans that are against us because they want appeasement at all costs, but we're not walking away from the deal. We're actually asking Congress to help us renegotiate a deal that the mullahs don't want to renegotiate. So what it's done is, in many ways, is just sown more confusion. Don't even take my word for it. Listen now to UN Ambassador Nikki Haley saying, well, we're out, but we're in. We're still in, but we're kind of out. It depends on their behavior. In, out, in, we'll see. Roll it, Brittany.
So you're saying you believe that there are other dangers posed by Iran, but right now, remaining in the deal is in the national security interest of the United States?
I think that's why you saw the president is staying in the deal. He's saying to Congress, can we make it better? What else can we do so that we can better protect Americans? And I think that his engagement with Congress is something that never happened under President Obama. They were never allowed to debate it. They were never allowed to discuss it. So now Congress is going to be fully engaged on the threats of Iran. These are all lessons learned from North Korea. Every single one of them. Had this been done with North Korea over the last 25 years, we would not be in this situation. What you see is the president is trying to make sure that Iran doesn't become the next North Korea.
Look, to me, it just sounds like more spin. Because we know what Congress's intentions is. They don't want to touch this. They don't want to own it. They don't want to own it. I mean, a few do. Some do want to impose sanctions, or they do want to come up with a serious policy on Iran. But for the most part, they don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. So they're going to wreck this the way they wrecked Obamacare, the way they're going to wreck tax reform. It's inevitable. The way they don't want to build a wall. They don't want to crack down on sanctuary cities. Look, the establishment elites do not want Trump's America First agenda. They don't want it. And so they'd rather that he deal with Iran, and if things go bad, he takes the blame. They don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. So what you've done is you've inflamed the mullahs, you've angered the Europeans. For what? So Congress will essentially do nothing? It's, to me, the worst. Either you're in or you're out. It's the worst of both possible worlds. Either you do nothing, and I'll be honest with you, there's a case to be made. Not that I'm supporting the mullahs or anything, but you've already got North Korea. So we've got a potential looming war there on one front. The last thing we need right now is to have a conflict with Iran. In other words, to fight on two fronts, with a military that's already overstretched, in which we still have troops in Libya, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. I mean, how many wars do they want us in? So, to me, there was a case of, if you're not going to pull out, just do nothing. But just let sleeping dogs lie for now. Or, if it's such a bad deal, and I think it's a horrible deal, just walk away. Just say, no, look, forget it. You Europeans do whatever you want to do, but we're not going to bloody our hands with this. We're not going to get our hands dirty with this anymore. Forget it. It's a horrible deal, and I'm going to go to Congress and see if we have to reimpose sanctions. But this thing is now over. It's done. Instead, by taking the middle road, I think it's the worst of all possible roads. 617-266-6868. Let me ask you this. Trump decertifies the Iran deal. Good move, bad move, your calls next. Deb in New Hampshire, you're up first. Go ahead, Deb. Hello, Deb? Okay, call back, Deb. You have bad phone connection. Jerry on the Cape. Go ahead, Jerry.
Jeff, good afternoon.
Hey, Jerry.
Jeff, you know this whole thing with Iran, the hostage crisis in '79, the Marine barracks being bombed in Beirut, all of our Marines killed, the Republican Revolutionary Guard financing and training Hezbollah and Hamas training camps in South America, in Paraguay, and Brazil, and Argentina. We got to get, the Saudis owe us here. We have that $100 billion arms deal with them. They need to step up here and take out Iran. It's a Sunni Shia thing anyway. I think we should push the envelope and force their hand, Jeff.
Jerry, my concern is, here's my concern. You tell me if you agree or not. We could potentially see ourselves in 3 to 6 months fighting a war on the Korean Peninsula and fighting a war in the Persian Gulf. And if we're fighting on two fronts, a lot of Americans are going to come home in body bags.
Jeff,
Am I wrong, Jerry?
I agree with you. We're already spread too thin. We're in Sudan, we're in Somalia, we're in Niger, we're in all these countries in the sub-Saharan Africa fighting terrorism there. We can't fight two more wars at once. That's why I say we need to get the Saudis to step up here and fight this fight for us. We just absolutely have to force their hand, Jeff.
I'm with you, Jerry. You know, why do we always have to do the fighting and the dying? Have you noticed that? We're always on the front lines. It's always us. And so I'm just objectively looking at things, and I'm saying you've got South Korea, 40 times the economy of North Korea, twice the population of North Korea, and we've got our boys on the DMZ. Our boys are the tripwire. Let South Koreans fight for their own country. Then let's go to Iran. Look, they're a threat to almost everybody in that region. They're a threat to Israel, obviously, but they're a threat to the Saudis. They're a threat to the United Arab Emirates. They're a threat to Kuwait. Guys, you take care of them. I mean, they're a threat potentially to the Turks. I mean, let the Sunnis take care of the Shia. How come it's always us? We've always got to do the fighting, the dying, and the bleeding. My friends, enough is enough. 617-266-6868. Tom in New Jersey. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Jeff, God bless you, red, white, and blue to you.
Thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome. Hey, Jeff, my message to Hillary rotten to the core is there was the only predator in the White House was your husband. So sit down and shut up. Number two, Jeff, just imagine the reaction if President Trump, this decertification is a fancy word for really doing nothing. I want President Trump to have a speech in front of the entire nation and take that Iran nuclear world destruction deal and tear it up in front of the entire world while he's making the speech, Jeff. That's what he needs to do. It's not worth toilet paper.
Tom, I'm with you. Look, and thank you for that call. I don't think it's worth the paper that it's written on. I think it was a garbage deal. I think it was a massive giveaway. We've essentially nuked up the mullahs. We've given them over $150 billion. They're playing us for fools on the world stage. Look, as I'm speaking to you now, they're testing missile after missile after missile. Their nuclear program continues to go on pretty much unimpeded. So what was the good? What good was in the deal? It was a horrible deal. We got nothing, literally nothing. So instead of being complicit in Iran's military buildup, which is what we are, because we're all playing stupid that the deal is working when it's not, I agree with you. Here, I'd make an announcement and say, look, here is the deal. Literally, here. That's what I would do. There it is. The deal's over. I'm going to talk to Congress, whether we impose sanctions, don't impose sanctions. Europeans, you want to stick on to this, you go ahead. As far as I'm concerned, this deal is dead in water. What we're going to do next, we'll see. We'll have a policy of containment on Iran, and I'm asking everybody to help me in the region, the Saudis, the Israelis, the Kuwaitis, the United Arab Emirates, the Turks, who are technically part of NATO, do something. And we're going to contain the mullahs, but we're no longer going to empower the mullahs. That's it. Adios, amigos. That would be my policy. Instead, to me, I understand what he said, which is if I'm not happy with the way Congress is dealing with this, I want to tear up the deal. I get it. To me, this just muddies the water. Look, I'm old school. Either you're in or you're out. And I say we go out. Let's take it to Evan Heidrich in the newsroom. Take it away, Evan. 2:35 here on the great WRKO, 617-266-6868. Okay, I want to pivot to the Harvey Weinstein sex scandal, which is just honestly getting more bizarre by the second. But first, let me just take one more call on the Trump-Iran nuclear deal. Let's go to Scott in New Hampshire. You're up next. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Scott?
Hey, thanks. You're a real true patriot, I'll tell you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
That's great. A nationalist and everything else. I love it. What I'd like to say is Trump has one job, and that's to protect America and Israel, because everything revolves around that. And this nuke deal, I can tell, because there's certain people in his circle that are telling him he can't just rip it up, because he has a plan. If we go, say, to North Korea, like that other caller just said, we can't fight two fronts. But God is in control, and Trump knows what he's doing, and I believe he has a plan. And I think the next move will probably be North Korea. So that's what I just got to say about that.
Scott, thank you for that call. Look, I agree with you. I think if he is going to make a move first, it's going to be on North Korea. I think there's almost no question about that. I also think what Trump is doing is he's exposing the swamp. I think one of the reasons why he's punting, kicking off, whatever you want to call it, handing this thing off to Congress to basically say, look, either we renegotiate a better deal or you guys impose sanctions or whatever, but it's time for you guys to get involved. He wants to hold Congress accountable. He wants to basically say to them, no, look, you guys are always sniping. You're always scolding me. You're always needling me, attacking me, criticizing me. Well, you know what? It's, the ball's now in your court. Let's see what you guys can do outside of just constantly calling me names like Corker, who's saying I'm going to lead the country to World War III. Okay, so if I'm going to lead the country to World War III, as you claim, Corker, then what's your suggestion? How do you make this deal better? How would you improve it? How should we renegotiate this? So he's putting them on the spot. And I think, honestly, by putting them on the spot, he's going to expose them again for the incompetent, inept buffoons that they are. Look, I'll tell you what I think is going on, okay? I think it's pretty obvious what Trump's political strategy is, and I think it's frankly ingenious. What Trump is really doing is he's playing two-dimensional chess. His goal is essentially this. He got Bannon to leave the White House, basically saying, oh, he's a troublemaker. You guys wanted his head. Okay, you want his head? I'm giving you his head. Okay, here's his head on a platter. But outside, Bannon is now waging guerrilla war. So he's threatening to knock off McConnell and to lead a massive insurgency within the Republican Party. So he's putting all the rhinos on notice. He's putting tremendous pressure on McConnell and the Republican leadership, saying, you know what, you guys are all going to be primaried and your days are numbered. So you've got Bannon squeezing him on one side, Trump, who just met with McConnell, and apparently they basically declared a truce. But really what's happening is Trump is telling McConnell, hey, look, Mitch, the natives are getting restless. Bannon's going to primary all of you guys. You haven't delivered on Obamacare. You haven't delivered on the wall. You haven't delivered on tax cuts. You guys aren't delivering on anything. So here's what you guys need to do. You guys better give me a tax cut plan that I want by the end of the year. I want the wall as quickly as possible. And you know what? When it comes to Iran, since Corker thinks he knows better than everybody, let's see what Corker can do. So he's putting them on the spot. He's putting the onus on them. Why? Either they deliver what he wants them to deliver, or if he doesn't deliver, Bannon's got his army waiting to take these guys out. So I think that's clearly Trump's strategy. To me, that's all fine. That's, inside the Beltway. I understand he's got many moving pieces. What I'm just telling you is my big fear is that if you look at the mullahs, they're now completely enraged by this. Like, they're going to redouble their missile testing, their support for terrorism, their mischief and takeover of Iraq. I mean, the Iranians can do a lot of damage. And you've infuriated our allies. And that's why, to be honest with you, I would have torn the deal up. I would have said, here's Obama's legacy. I tore it up. Adios, bye-bye, and let the chips fall where they may. But that's just me. Okay. Harvey Weinstein. Notice now. Okay? Notice now. All of these Hollywood stars are now coming out of the woodwork when it's safe, when it's acceptable, when it will no longer damage their political career. Now they're all coming out and saying, well, he raped me, oh, he groped me, or he sexually assaulted me. Now you've got 5 women, some of them British actresses, who have come out and said Harvey Weinstein outright raped them. You've got others like Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Beckinsale, you've got Angelina Jolie, top A-list actresses now saying that they were either sexually assaulted or groped by Harvey Weinstein. So now when it's convenient for them, when their careers won't be damaged, then all of a sudden they start to speak out. And what to me is ironic in all of this is, where's Jimmy Kimmel? Where's good old Jimmy? Because if you remember, when it was time to repeal Obamacare, he went on TV on his late night show, all the other comedians as well, but him in particular, crying, you can't do it. You can't do it. I got my son and he's sick, and it's just when you see what's going to happen to people's health care, and children are going to die. Everybody's going to die. It can't happen. So you've got Jimmy Kimmel, Cry Me a River Jimmy, on his show. Then, on top of that, when it was the massacre in Las Vegas, there he is again on the verge of tears, this time because we need gun control. And why do we have automatic weapons, even though we don't have automatic weapons? We got to ban bump stocks. We got to do universal background checks, on and on. In other words, when it comes to Obamacare, when it comes to DACA, when it comes to gun violence, Jimmy is the moral conscience of America. But when it comes to good old Harvey, horrible Harvey, whoa. Suddenly, Jimmy's not making any jokes. Jimmy's not giving any rants. Jimmy's not delivering monologues. Jimmy's not going after horrible Harvey. He's not condemning the rape culture endemic in Hollywood. Suddenly, Jimmy's gone AWOL. Where's Jimmy Kimmel? Jimmy doesn't want to say a bad word against good old Harvey. Listen now to Jimmy being asked, this was on CBS, I believe, correct? On CBS saying, you've been incredibly silent about the whole Harvey Weinstein scandal. Why is that? Listen to Jimmy's response. Roll it, Jared.
First of all, the Harvey Weinstein thing, people like this false equivalence as if that somehow is equivalent to what happened in Las Vegas. I mean, Harvey Weinstein is not a person is not a friend of mine. I'm not in the movie business. And I'll add that story came out, I think, moments before we went to tape on Thursday, and we didn't have a show on Friday. So
you addressed it on the following Monday.
Yeah. So, of course, that was it's a convenient. Now what they're doing now is they're trying to drag up any kind of, especially these gun nuts, trying to drag take any comedy bit I did out of context and use it as some kind of proof. They're saying that I'm calling myself the moral conscience of America, which I most certainly never did and most certainly never would.
No, Jimmy. Whoa. Look at this little yellow-livered, gutless coward. Look at these Hollywood libs. Huh? Look at him. It's incredible. So, whoa, Jimmy. Whoa. Hey. When it came to Obamacare, you were the conscience of the nation. You were crying on your own show. You were saying you can't repeal it. Children are going to die. In America,
your baby is going to die, and it doesn't have to. It shouldn't matter how much money you make.
That was you, Jimmy. When it came to the DACA beneficiary, the children, they're going to load the children. We got to give them amnesty. We can't be deporting children, for God's sakes. There he was with the tears again. Then, when it came to Las Vegas on gun control, there was good old Jimmy.
Is good. They should be praying. They should be praying for God to forgive them for letting the gun lobby run this country, because it is it's so crazy. Right now, there are loopholes in the law that let people avoid background checks if they buy a gun privately from another party, if they buy a gun online or at a gun show.
Bump stocks. They went on about bumps. They all went on bump stocks, bump stocks, bump stocks, bump stocks. So he's the conscience of America. On DACA, the conscience. On health care, the conscience. On guns, the conscience. But suddenly, when it comes to a guy that he partied with, when it comes to a guy, by the way, he has no connections with Hollywood? Yeah, right, Jimmy. How about all those Hollywood celebrities you interview on your show night after night after night promoting their movies? How about when you host the Academy Awards, Jimmy, or the Golden Globes, Jimmy, in which, by the way, Harvey Weinstein was the one who set all that up for you, Jimmy, giving you that massive exposure, Jimmy. So you see, when Harvey was good to you and scratched your back to help grease the skids for your career, then you said nothing, Jimmy, about the rapes, the sexual assaults, the groping. How do I say this? The pleasuring himself. How do I say this? In front of pot plants or beds or wherever. There he was in his bathrobe, running naked up and down the hallway. That's Harvey. But you didn't say anything about that, Jimmy. No, then you weren't the moral conscience of America.
Saying that I'm calling myself the moral conscience of America, which I most certainly never did and most certainly never would.
Now, when it's your fellow Hollywood weasels that have been these serial sex predators that have been exposed, suddenly, hey, guys, I'm just a comedian. Guys, I'm just, hey, I'm not really in the moralizing business. I just want to crack a few jokes. And there's nothing funny about Harvey Weinstein. You phony, you fraud, you.
First of all, the Harvey Weinstein thing, people like this false equivalence as if that somehow is equivalent to what happened in Las Vegas. I mean,
I don't know, raping 5 women, Jimmy? 45 women now have come out and say they were sexually assaulted. I mean, I'm not saying it's Vegas, but it's pretty big.
First of all, the Harvey Weinstein thing.
The thing.
The thing.
The Harvey Weinstein thing.
Just a little thing. A little little thing. Like, come on, he just tapped a woman on the rear end once. What are you guys going crazy? Just a little thing. Come on, he had a few drinks and a little tap. Come on now. What are you guys getting all worked up over?
Don't do it, J-Mo. You don't want to mess with Weird Al.
Oh, please. I'm not afraid of anyone in show business. I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
They knew. They all knew, and they said nothing. You know what that means? They were enablers. And that includes good old Jimmy Kimmel. You phony, you fraud, you.
And I'll add that story came out, I think, moments before we went to tape on Thursday, and we didn't have a show on Friday, so.
Jimmy Kimmel getting hammered for refusing to call out and denounce Harvey Weinstein. The enablers continue to exist in Hollywood. And my question to you is this. This is now the biggest scandal in Hollywood history. It's like a nuclear bomb has been detonated in the upper echelons of the globalist epicenter in Hollywood. How far do you think the consequences will go? How deep do you think this scandal runs? And is this Hollywood's version of the Catholic sex abuse scandal? 617-266-6868. For example, it has now come out that an actress that played a role with George Clooney on the show ER has now come out and said that she was also sexually assaulted by Harvey Weinstein, that she tried to complain about it. However, when she did, she was blocked by George Clooney, and then she says that Clooney himself engaged in despicable degrading behavior towards her. So you now have people saying George Clooney did it, Oliver Stone did it, that many other directors did it, that this is prevalent all across Hollywood, that it's not just Harvey Weinstein, it's the way Hollywood rolls. Ben Affleck is now on the hot seat. Numerous women are now coming out saying that he groped him and grabbed him by the rear end. So even Ben Askrak is in big trouble. And my question to you is this. Is Harvey Weinstein only the first domino to fall? 617-266-6868. Bruce in Woburn. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hey, Jeff. I mean, talk about Moonbat Hollow. I'm not going to waste my breath with this one. This is unbelievable. I mean, first with deplorables, then with gun nuts, with that guy Jimmy. He's such a loser. But getting back to Hollywood, they're all, that's how anybody gets their parts. They have to lay down and shut up. And it's really disgusting. It's despicable is what it is. And it's been going on, and this is the tip of the iceberg, Jeff. Just the tip of the iceberg.
Bruce, I'm with you. Look, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why this is such a major story. What you're seeing now is the delegitimization of Hollywood. Now, I know you're going to say, Jeff, we never took him seriously. Neither did I. But for much of the country, these were the people that acted as our moral superiors. These were the ones that lectured us on transgenderism, on climate change, on gun control, on Donald Trump, on the deplorables, on racism, on you name the issue. They were always morally superior to the rest of us. And now they've been exposed to be the utter hypocrites and frauds that they are. Don't lecture me about racism or sexism or misogyny or whatever when your whole culture up there is predicated on rape and sexual assault. All you guys are doing is either raping women, molesting women, assaulting women, whatever it may be. And you're acting like you're superior to us? No, 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 no. What this has now done, it's finally exposed Hollywood for the moral cesspool that it is. 617-266-6868. Scott in Worcester, you're up next. Go ahead, Scott.
Yes, Mr. Kuhner. You know, no one should be surprised because you asked if this is going to end with Harvey Weinstein. He's the biggest fish in Hollywood, and as far as he took, Hillary Clinton took money from him. Andrew Cuomo took money from him. He's just as scummy and rotten as Washington is. But you got to look at the whole thing. Hollywood is rotten, as is Wall Street, and Washington is. And there's all something in common. It's all Jewish.
There you go. I was waiting for that one. There it is. Hollywood, Wall Street, Washington, and I was waiting. When's he going to blame the Jews? Ba-bang. There he was.
He's consistent. You give him that.
And he's fast, too. What was this one? 30 seconds in. 30 seconds, and boom. There you go. Chris in Gloucester. Go ahead, Chris.
I agree with the Weinstein and Hollywood hypocrisy. It's not surprising, only that it's more than you really thought. However, no Trump supporters can lecture anybody on this. This guy is Hollywood Access was the show, right? Trump, just because Weinstein was a pig, does not get Trump off the hook on his behavior.
But what did he do?
Oh, there's over a dozen women who have made accusations against Trump, and if you don't,
I know, and all the charges have been dropped.
No. His own wife accused him of rape.
His own wife didn't accuse him of rape. That's another lie.
No, she didn't.
No, she didn't. She didn't. No one has accused him of rape. No one has accused him of sexual assault. Nothing like that ever happened. The Billy, it's not come on. I'm telling you, it's a fact. The Billy Bush tape was him just talking about how groupies will allow celebrities to grab them. That's it. So no one's come out with an accusation. Against Bill Clinton, yes. Against Harvey Weinstein, yes. Against Ben Affleck, yes. Against Trump, No.
Don't do it, J-Mo. You don't want to mess with Weird Al.
Oh, please. I'm not afraid of anyone in show business. I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 3 o'clock.